Taber back here on the Choose954 podcast, episode 54, with local artist and Zero Empty Space resident artist Lizzy Taber and James Wang, here from our third Zero Empty Spaces location off of Galt Ocean Mile in Fort Lauderdale, off Oakland Park and A1A, ahead of the grand opening reception of this location Thursday, December 12th from 7 to 9 p.m. If you didn't know about Choose954, we started a social movement to cultivate culture and community here in Broward County, to keep people in the know with all the great things that are going on in an effort to make this a better place to live and not just a better place to vacation. So the point of the podcast is to connect you with amazing people like them doing important things in the community, and creating art definitely helps our community a lot, as you're about to find out. So, and this podcast is sponsored by the Thousand Mermaids Artificial Reef Project, creating artistically crafted artificial reefs to provide marine habitat, ecotourism opportunities, research opportunities, and tons of other great benefits to the ocean. To find out more, you can log on to www.1000mermaids.com. That's www.1000mermaids.com. But without much further ado, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves at a high level?
Hi, well, thank you for having me. I'm Lizzy Taber, and I am a mixed media artist from South Florida. I grew up in Pompano Beach. I recently moved back from Arizona, where I got my MFA in fine art at Arizona State University. So right now I'm just really excited to get back into painting. I work in different mediums, but right now I've been really focused on painting and collaborating with ocean sciences.
Exciting. Yeah. Excited to find out a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about yourself, James.
Hi, thank you for having me. I just recently moved down from Northern Virginia. Been here in Fort Lauderdale, Wood Manor area for the last 7 months. I've always knew that I was creative. I have a degree in architecture and art, and just started to do art seriously for the last 11 years. So I've done a lot of shows out in Northern Virginia, and my last show was in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, how about that? Well, we're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Lizzy, how did you initially get into art in the first place?
I actually never did any art until I was in college. So I was actually a really late start. I was 18, I was living in dorms, I was an English major, and my roommate at the time, Juliana, convinced me to take an elective, and then I was hooked.
How about that?
Yeah.
And just sped right to the MFA.
Yeah. Well, I took a couple years off in between, so it's been about, I've been doing art pretty seriously for a little less than a decade.
Okay. And how did you get started in the arts?
After spending a lot of years in a high-level executive management position, I've decided that it was time to do something more creative. Even though managing people could be creative.
Amen. Amen.
But I wanted to use both my analytical and creative sides and do something art. Like, see the artwork that I do, I get inspired by Jackson Pollock, and
see that?
You can see that, and then also Kandinsky and Joni Mitchell, more of the abstract expressionist.
Amen.
So there's a lot of emotions in each of my paintings. So
it's interesting that you mentioned high-level position and creativity. They're saying now that they want executives to be creative, but yet they're slashing art classes and art funding and all these things.
Yeah.
So how is anybody, kids, adults, otherwise, supposed to develop these creative skills unless they're fortunate enough to get an MFA from Arizona State? But I'm glad that you mentioned that and that you were able to make the transition. Can you tell it? We're in James's studio in Zero Empty Spaces. Lizzy's is right next door. We have some of Lizzy's work we'll show you as well. But could you tell us a little bit about some of your work and some of the pieces here?
The one right behind us, just what I call Losing My Marbles, is actually a very experimental piece. One of my goals in my work is to experiment and to come up with new techniques. A lot of people use pour medium basically to pour on the medium, move the canvases around and watch it form an image. Where I'm using the pour medium and I'm using a palette knife where I'm actually drawing and designing what you see are these circular motions, which are marbles.
Interesting.
Yes. So I like to try and create new techniques. So the one behind you, Evan, a lot of people think what they obviously say it's it's Jackson Pollock.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's an homage to Jackson Pollock, but it's done slightly different. Jackson does a lot of the splatter and, you know, he throws the paint on. This is more what I call a piping technique, where I'm piping the canvas to create the image.
Interesting.
And if you ever look at it from the side of the canvas, you can see the multiple layers.
Interesting.
The one behind you have 12 layers of paint.
And you work on the floor as well?
For those, I work on the floor. Occasionally, you'll see me work on an easel.
Right. And how big are these pieces?
The one behind us, the one that I call Losing My Marble, is 4 feet by 6 feet.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah. So you need either a big easel or floor space
yes,
to be able to work on it.
right.
Okay.
And the one behind you, the one that I, the homage to Jackson Pollock, it's 3 feet 4 inches by 5 feet.
And what is piping?
Basically, what I do is I make the paint with a viscosity that allows me to think of piping a cake. You know how they pipe a cake?
Mm-hmm.
I make the paint that has enough viscosity for me to pipe the canvas. I have different tips that I use. So, thick, thin, thick, double lines, triple lines, and so forth and so on.
Interesting. And if you want to be able to see it, you can discover James in his studio here at our third Zero Empty Spaces location at 3303 Northeast 32nd Street. Technically in Fort Lauderdale, though it's off of Oakland Park and A1A, right across from Vino's and Jackson Prime Steakhouse and the Broward Art Guild. And you can meet James and Lizzy and the rest of the artists this Thursday during our grand opening from 7 to 9 p.m. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your work?
Okay. So I am really interested in ways to visualize data. So I'll have like different projects. This is fairly new for me, where I have like bigger projects that I spend a lot of time doing research, reaching out to scientists or city planners or people in the field and educating myself on the issue. So for example, I did a large project on seafloor mapping, and I actually went on the research vessel with Schmidt Ocean Institute, and I learned how to map part of the seafloor. So you'll see a lot of themes of maps in my work, and they're actually really colorful and abstract. So they fit with my aesthetic, but they also symbolize a lot more kind of the unknown and thinking about depths of the ocean that we don't know about yet. So that's one. And another topic I've been doing a lot is sea level rise. So talking with scientists and really like educating myself and learning like the basics on what city planners and officials are doing and scientists are doing to kind of work with that. So my last painting series, I was actually measuring out the meters from the NOAA website, and I would use like hot pink lines to actually show in real time how much sea levels risen in the past 100 years. So things like that. So my work is very bright, colorful, but if you take a minute to look deeper into it, you'll see I'll have some level of some type of educating of some data visualization.
Phenomenal. And
yeah.
You guys both might find interesting, during Fort Lauderdale Art and Design Week in January, we helped create Fort Lauderdale's first architecture fair with the AAA local chapter, and they actually have sections with charrettes where they're focusing on sustainable design related to sea level rise. That'll be January 18th through the 26th at FAU Metro Lab in downtown Fort Lauderdale. They're bringing in some phenomenal speakers and architects, and it is very important living here in South Florida. It's something we really can't turn our head and look the other way, hope things will get better. The projections are unfortunately continue going up, and it's interesting to be able to use art as a way of communication, as a way of raising awareness of the issue, and hopefully enacting some change and things to take action, which is what we really need. We have this piece here. You want to tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so it's going to go this way.
Okay. Thank you.
So one of my first collaborations was actually with Rescue a Reef, and
with Rasmus and Dalton.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, Dalton sent me these photos. So I think Dalton and his team took them. And this is a photogravure, which is a 19th century photo process where you actually etch an image into copper and then you can reprint it and make multiples. So this piece is titled Our First Line of Defense, because when I was speaking with Dalton about the coral reefs, he explained to me that the staghorn and elkhorn coral reefs that line our coast actually absorb up to 95% of ocean's wave energy.
That's right.
And he was explaining to me that they're our first line of defense, which I thought sounded extremely poetic. So I etched these photos that he sent me into copper, and I reprinted them and made an edition about them. So yeah, so little things like that. I feel like the connections between artists and scientists has been really empowering for me to actually really learn about the science that I'm so interested in, and then be able to digest it in my own way and create work. So it's been really awesome.
I know we briefly talked about it, but now that you correlated this, I'd love to explore collaborations with the Thousand Mermaids Artificial Reef Project.
Yeah, I read about that project. It's so interesting.
It is equal art and raising awareness about the issues that are plaguing our coral reefs. So kudos to you, and you'll be able to see her work as well. So Lizzy's studio is the next space over here in this Empty Spaces location. And for those that aren't familiar with Zero Empty Spaces, artists like Lizzy and James kept coming to us and asking where can they find affordable artist studio spaces, as we're working as arts advocates and community builders and creative problem solvers throughout Broward County. And at the same time, developers and real estate people are coming to us, hey, can you do cool stuff in my space with art? So my partner and myself, with my partner having a background in shopping center retail development and having been an executive with the Westfield Corporation, came up with this initiative to marry the two, to take vacant commercial real estate, as we're in right now, and make them affordable artist studio spaces on a month-to-month basis while they stay on the market. We assume the liability. We provide our general liability insurance to the owner. We pay the water and the electricity. We do a build out if necessary. We fix the lights. We fix things that need to be fixed to get it up and running. We do the marketing and the PR around it. We do a grand opening reception around it. And this is in an effort, while Broward County unfortunately is one of the least affordable counties for housing in the country, we're working to make Broward County one of the most affordable counties for artists to be able to create. And we're very excited now. This is our third location that we're opening. We have 18 artists working within our spaces. We're working to continually acquire more and more spaces to provide more and more opportunities to artists. So if you're an artist that's looking for affordable artist studio spaces at $2 per square foot, you can find out more on our website at www.zeroemptyspaces.com. There's an artist application. It's not binding. If you don't like the next available space, we keep you on the list. We'll just continue to call and let you know the next spaces as they become available. And it's a beautiful thing when it works out. Where were you guys creating before this?
Well, I recently did an artist residency in Savannah for the month of, it was like September, October. So I did a big body of work there, and then for the past month or two, I've just been really researching, trying to find a space.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Where are you creating?
At home. At home. Luckily, we found a house here in Walter Manors where I have a separate house, so that's where my studio was.
Nice.
But now, having the opportunity to join Zero Empty Spaces, which I think is a great initiative. I mean, it's wonderful that you provide this opportunity for the artist. I mean, to come out and actually collaborate and meet other artists is great. Mm-hmm. And then also have the opportunity of maybe having some people stop by in here.
Correct.
And take a look at your work.
Correct. And first and foremost, it is a studio space initiative. Correct. So making a studio space, it's a perk, it's an added benefit that you have the potential for walk-in traffic. Right. This is a pretty affluent, probably not the best way to put it, but it is on A1A. So there are all these people that have condos and snowbirds that live here that come to dinner, and as they're walking around, they're able to pop in, or as they're going shopping throughout the week, whatever the case may be. So it's a beautiful thing when it works. We're super glad to have you here. We're super grateful to be able to provide a space for somebody like yourself, because, and being from Pompano, being from South Florida, because unfortunately, as you discovered, most artists have to go other places to pursue their work, craft, passion, or creative outlet or profession. And you should be able to be an artist in a place like Broward County. You shouldn't have to go to Miami or Palm Beach or Savannah or Arizona. You should be able to be an artist in a place like this. So hopefully, while we don't have a bakehouse, while we don't have a fountainhead, and while we don't have these long-running residency programs that are, well-funded and nonprofit and underwritten by the Knight Foundation and all those people that give money in Miami, and that's a whole other conversation. We're excited to continue expanding this program. If you are a real estate owner that has vacant commercial real estate that is literally doing nothing, we activate it. We don't charge you anything. You get all the benefits of all the work and the artists making the space beautiful on a month-to-month basis. You can feel free to reach out to us as well. If you're in the arts, if you're an art supply company and you want to supply art supplies to artists, they'll gladly work with them. And we've had some interest from Jerry's and Artesia. If you're interested in the arts, and most people never get to see an artist studio. Maybe they go to the art walk, maybe they went to Miami Art Week, maybe they go to Art Fort Lauderdale, but they really don't get to see the process. They really don't get to see you piping, or they really don't get to see an artist working on the floor, or an artist working the space. And it adds another connection to the art, which, as we're working to foster more collectors here in Broward County and trying to foster this creative community and this creative class and a thriving arts and culture scene, I feel, at least from my experience, meeting artists in their studios, connecting them to the process, and connecting them to your inspirations. I had no idea that Dalton was involved in this piece, and we collaborate with Dalton as well. So that's actually super interesting to me, and I think that would also be interesting to a lot of other people. So you have the opportunity to meet James, Lizzy, Karen, Amanda, Tanya, and Ellen, the resident artists here in our third Zero Empty Spaces location, this Thursday, December the 12th, from 7 to 9 p.m. It's a free event. We're providing some bites, drinks, and tour their studios, talk to them, ask them questions, find out about their process. Maybe you see something you like, maybe you want them to commission something for your house or a custom piece. These are the types of things, and this is a way that you can support the arts, even if you don't buy a piece, just by showing up and attending and being part of it. A like or a follow, a share on social media, all those things help grow and support the arts. So we appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to participate in the podcast. A couple other things, if you're interested in engaging with the arts, we're still very excited to be continuing the Choose954 Local Artist Discovery Series. It's a live art pop-up that takes place every Wednesday at YOLO in downtown Fort Lauderdale. We provide the canvas, the easel, the table. We don't charge, we don't take a cut of the work. We market it, we make a flyer, give a food tab. It's in another effort to connect local artists and their process with the downtown YOLO crowd. Your work's a little big, but we can maybe work something out with a smaller piece. But you guys are more than welcome to participate if you want to. We're on our 146th consecutive week bringing different local artists to downtown Fort Lauderdale. And I'm always glad to continue expanding and bringing more artists in. So you can feel free to reach out to me, Evan at Choose954.com. We're glad to continue supporting our friends from Raw Storytelling, True Stories Untold. It's our version of The Moth. It takes place the second Thursday night of every month, a free event in downtown Fort Lauderdale. You can find out more at rawstorytelling.org. Then the morning after that is another event that I'm very proud and glad to continue hosting, AAF Creative Zen. It's a monthly breakfast lecture series. It's a mini TED Talk. It's a free event. We bring in a thought-provoking, inspiring speaker to share their story with our community for free. That's where I had my aha moment and got into the arts and culture from a series of events that transpired from attending a talk. So that's why I like to pay it back and pay it forward by continuing to host. This month we have Shavara Warren, who is an amazing speaker, author, art activist, gallerist. Her father is Dr. James Bevel, who Common played in the movie Selma. He was Dr. King's advisor. So she has phenomenal insight, experience, and is very active in art and in activism. So that's going to be at the Hub Spark in Mass District in the Flagler Village area. This Friday morning, December 13th, doors open at 8:30. Talk starts at 9. You're out of there by 10. It's a free event. We provide coffee and breakfast bites from our partners at Cow Bakery. So if you want to find out more, type in AAF Creative Zen. It's a free event. We just ask that you RSVP. And last one, if you like music, We're still proud to support So Far Sounds, Songs from a Room experience. It's a very intimate music listening experience. They reward true music fans by bringing them to locations they've probably never been to, getting to discover independent musicians generally on the way up, or some established that they might not have ever got to hear live otherwise. You either have to request access or be invited. They don't publish the name of the venue. It's a very intimate, eclectic thing that takes place in over 400 cities around the world, and we're very fortunate to have a chapter here in Fort Lauderdale that Choose954 is a proud sponsor and supporter of. So you can find out more, look up So Far Sounds, Songs from a Room experience. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm at Evan Snow, at Evan Snow 13, at Choose954, at Zero Empty Spaces, at Art Fort Lauderdale, coming up on the 4th Annual Art Fair on the Water, January 23rd through the 26th. You can find out more at www.artftlauderdale.com. We look forward to seeing you this Thursday night, 7 to 9 p.m., and finding out why you choose 954. Thanks, guys.